Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Tuesday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe. At Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. As you know, a lot needs to go right to take home the W's on the Quad 1 wins. We talked about it last episodes. Mistakes need to be limited. Well, a slow start followed by complete control of the game, followed by sloppy basketball, missed opportunities, and Syracuse just couldn't put a bow on a Quad 1 win and bring home the W. So an 82-78 loss for the Orange. You'll hear from us. We'll hear from you in fan feedback, and Syracuse looks to rebound on the road versus Georgia Tech this Saturday at noon. We'll let you know what we think about that. So this is the third game in a row now where Syracuse has controlled the majority of the game against Miami, and Miami has come back to be victorious. And it's a bit frustrating. There were some mistakes. There was freshman mistakes. There was veteran mistakes at the end of that game and missed buckets to go with it. So empty possessions and turnovers is a recipe for an L. And they got it. It's just tough to watch it go down like that when you see the lead being chipped away, but you still have faith. I think they can rally this thing back. And, once the crowd got into it, I think it was a little frustrating. And Judah Mintz, not a great showing for him. 3 points, 1 for 7, and 1 for 3 from the line. So, and 5 turnovers, which was the dagger. Whole team had 9. So, anyway. All right, that's it.
That's it. Done. Over. Bye.
So, anyway, we'll hear from you in fan feedback. But first, as always, let's hear what Coach had to say after the game.
Tonight we really played well for most of the game. The second half, we tried to go bigger. They got, I think, 16 points off or more off offensive boards, probably more than that. And that was the difference. We just couldn't get a rebound. We tried to go with Benny and Malik together. Malik he's been good. He just didn't really have it tonight. But at the end of the day, we wanted to play pack out there, and we did it pretty well until Judah was up on him. He backed off him, and that was a big shot. But Joe and Jesse really were good. I mean, they did everything you could do to try to win this game. But I thought Benny loosened up. He knocked down some shots, which is what we think he can do. But Chris, he's a shooter. But he's playing 20 minutes and he's getting 1 rebound. He's got to figure out how to do that. And Judah's played really well all year. He's had a bad game, and that's what happens with freshmen. Any questions?
Jimmy mentioned Judah. You took him out.
I've said everything I'm going to say about Judah.
On your next to last possession, down 2, that was the one where Judah went to the lane.
Yeah.
What were you hoping for?
No, we had a set. They kind of took Joe away a little bit. We're trying to get Joe a shot up at the top, but I think Judah was premature a little bit, trying to make a play, which he's done. He's made those plays all year for us, and he didn't. No idea. We'll see you.
And that's probably about how quick the show should be, to be honest with you. So anyway,
less than 4 minutes.
Look, the away pressers are always a little bit shy of the 5-minute mark, but Joe and Jesse with a career high. Okay, so I mean, we've been talking about Jesse, and we've been kind of being a little bit hard on him on the on finishing around the rim and 25 points, 9 for 16, and he just played phenomenal, 11 rebounds, and not a single block for anybody in the game, which I think is probably the first time this year I've seen that. And, I mean, it's just you think coming into a game like this with a little bit of height advantage, you get something out of that. But regardless, it doesn't matter. Nigel Pack, he was 5 for 9 from 3. Joe was leaving him with room because, well, you kind of want guys to shoot from there, except for he was making them, right?
Yeah.
So straight on about halfway from the arc to the half court line is about right where he was nailing them. And, you don't want to get up too hard on the guy and cause a foul opportunity and give a guy 3 free shots. So he was playing off of him. And, it proved to be kind of an issue. 15 points for Pack. And Judah, we have seen he took a beating in fan feedback and some of the criticism on social media and stuff. And that's just what social media is about, right? But when it comes down to it, it's unfortunate that it happened in this game, a game that was totally winnable, a game that Syracuse had a great opportunity and kind of squandered away, a quad 1 win for the resume. And, we're going on a year and a half of this, and it's too bad it happened in this game, but he's a freshman.
Yeah.
These things are going to happen. I don't think this is a huge setback for this team, and we can talk and we can talk about, this would have been this, that, or the other for the tournament and for the resume, but there's other opportunities like this, which is what we were talking about in the last game. I just felt like this was a really good opportunity.
It was a great opportunity, right? And, that's the one thing that I hate most about certain, I can't even call out specific fans, but just certain fans altogether, right? Because Judah's been the mainstay. He's the one that he's going to have
we
the
talked.
game.
Yeah, we talked. We said he's the only one that's consistent on the court every game.
Most of the time,
he's had 2 bad games. One he got kicked out of, and this one.
Right. And I mean, you look back at it and the Bryant and the Colgate games, I mean, right now you're looking at a 14-5 team if we win those games that we're supposed to win. And that's a completely different conversation that we're having right now. But it's just, I hate when it's a situation where someone has a bad game and then they blame it on them. Because, I mean, realistically, even I know I've heard some rumblings of, it's the same thing. It reminded them of Pittsburgh game. Well, we wouldn't even have came back or been in the Pittsburgh game without Judah Mintz. I mean, he had an awesome game against Pittsburgh. Yes. He just happened to have a bad game, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Does Jim not take Samir out and keep him on the bench? I mean, based upon how the history of this season's gone. I mean, even when Judah kind of gets out of control, he takes him out of the game, talks to him, settles him down, and then he usually goes back in and he's status quo, but it was just a little weird because, I mean, he was getting beat up. I think there's a lot of fouls that didn't get called on him. Mm-hmm. And then he, misses 2 free throws. He makes a nice move and makes a little up and under jump shot from the free throw line that he airballs. And just something seemed off. And he, visibly was upset, obviously, on the court if you watched. And obviously he's going to have better days, but I'm not going to be a person that just jumps on him as a freshman, as somebody who's been so consistent as a freshman, to jump on him just for one game. I can't do it. It was by far his worst game. I mean, he had better stats in the limited time that he had against Bryant before he got kicked out than he did in this game for all intents and purposes. So, yeah, I'm not going to be that guy. And that's probably why Jim didn't jump on him either, because he knows how good he is.
Hey.
And, I think this is just kind of this was a happening and not, a routine thing. And I'm not going to jump on him for that.
Absolutely not. At Drew Cuse on Twitter, freshman won the last game. Freshman might have cost us this one. It happens. Look, like I said, here's the thing. Like I said in the open, everything's got to go right. Everybody's got to play top notch, best of their ability. Everyone has to contribute. Malik Brown didn't have a great game either. We're used to seeing him ball out the past few games. Freshman. Okay? This is just a happening. And like you said, and that's why I put that in there about coach, I know that, and by the way, me and Joe don't talk about the game before the show. So most of the time. I mean, if we do, it's it's football season. Let's be
Right.
honest. Because there's so much more to talk about with football than there is to talk about with basketball. But
Yeah.
my point is that that coach, if he feels a need to make a point in a press conference to a specific player, he is chomping at the bit for that opportunity. If he doesn't get it, he's going to throw it in there anyways, even if that's out of context.
He's done it to Jesse.
Yes,
so.
yes. So he obviously thinks that, this is not going to, maybe he knows something else too. Maybe Judah
We
wasn't
never know
feeling
what's
great,
going on
right?
the
Yeah.
outside,
So
right?
exactly. Or something's
I mean,
going on.
there
Who
might be
knows?
personal things going on.
Could be anything.
You never know.
Right. So
You get a passing of a family member. You don't know about that stuff. So
right. It's just one of those things that, hey, look, it hurts. Like at one, Kevin Nash says, that one hurt. It hurt.
yeah.
You had the game, you lost it. And we've seen it the past now 3 times we played Miami.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the thing again that hurts is that like right now we're really not even sniffing the NCAA tournament because of our non-conference strength schedule and because of some of our losses, right? So, again,
Well, we
I
just
don't
went
wanna
from
beat a dead horse.
second to 6th. We had a great opportunity to be, tied for second still, but
I
not
mean,
gonna.
look, we didn't move. It was a good game. We didn't move on Ken Palm, and we moved up actually 13 spots or something.
In the
It was
net.
double-digit spots in the net rankings for playing them good.
to 106. Cuse is 106 in the net.
Yep.
And, a lot of that, which is why I like the net, because it plays to a lot of your situation, which is why I think it's the most transparent thing in college sports since the television. I mean, there's nothing else that ever gave us any kind of gauge. And like you, I know what you're going to say, but look, this is the best gauge we have. This is absolutely the best gauge we have. And I know that people who decide these things are not looking at the net rankings, but it gives us an idea of what I believe should be the truth. But you have human hands and eyes on this stuff, and there's politics involved. But the net rankings is a pure ranking.
Well, so I think the one thing with me that goes to the net rankings is board obviously wins bigger than anything else. So if you are a team that just happens to be winning and have a really good record, but your strength of schedule isn't that great, yes, if you lose, the strength of schedule or the strength of the team and how close you play them can help you. But as long as you win, it's not going to hurt you. So usually when you look at the net rankings and you look at some of the top teams, it's usually some of these teams from mid-major conferences that just might not have had the strength of schedule, but they are winning a lot. So I think that that's the one spot where really it's skewed, but obviously that gets kind of...
I think it gets filtered out, though. You're not going to...
It kind of does and kind of doesn't.
I think that gets filtered out a lot by...
I think it gets filtered out at the end,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, but if that team, you happen to play that team, and it's a quad 1 game because they're just way up there, then that helps another random team out, right? Like, oh, we beat this random mid-major team. So, I mean, there is a little bit there.
I understand that, but most of those games are played in the beginning of the year, and when all of these guys are hitting their own conference play, that's where the cream rises to the top. And that balance, I feel like that balances it out. When you've got a mid-major team that's going to be the top of their division anyway, those guys, a lot of those come down to conference championships anyhow. So, look, I understand your point.
I'm just saying,
but
it's the random stuff, right? I mean, it's like right now, Florida Atlantic from the Conference USA is 12th, right? I mean, just random little things like that.
Who have they beat though in non-conference play? Who did they play? Did they play anybody worth a damn? I mean, a lot of those teams have.
Sam Houston is 47th. So I mean, Oral Roberts is 61st. I mean, sometimes you get some of these guys, and if you're one of these big teams that play them in the non-conference, that's looked at as a quad 1 game. But who did they play?
Yeah, but and I get it, but
I mean, to some people it might be low hanging fruit, but I think that I'm right there with you. It's the most accurate thing that we have. It's just not perfect. It's still imperfect.
Nothing will be perfect. Nothing will be perfect. Ken Palm's stuff ain't perfect.
Well, nothing will be perfect because teams get better as the season goes on.
Well, not only that, but some teams, you can look at injuries to go the other way. You can look at all kinds of things. So there's all kinds of factors, and that's what I mean by the end of the year, those types of things filter themselves out. Not only that, but when you do have the commission looking at all these things, they're going to take into consideration the things that the net won't. Sometimes the problem is that with teams like Syracuse, who have been constantly bubble teams, if their net ranking looks good and you judge it just by that, there's going to be things that the commission's going to see that is going to disqualify them. Right. So that's what's dangerous about being on the bubble. But when they have a legit shot, and what can hurt them. And right now we know what's hurting Syracuse, and we've touched on it the last 3 episodes. So they've got to be able to, from here on out, and that's the point about this game, is that they had it in their pocket, and that's what kills me, is that they had the game won. All they had to do, the defense was playing great. All they had to do is have some buckets on offense to keep the score, at least moving. And not so stagnant on offense.
Yeah,
and then Joe Girard went after a ball. And look, these things happen. This is what I mean by, there's freshman mistakes, there's veteran mistakes. Late in the game, Joe Girard chased a ball that was shot and rimmed off by Miami. He ended up touching it before it went out of bounds. Should just let it go. And they ended up getting the ball back, right? That's a big brain fart, okay, in my opinion. And I would criticize that more than I criticize some of what Judah did. And like Coach said, Judah, that last play was set up for Joe to take a shot. Okay, well, how many times have we seen Judah just run the lane and come up with, take out his magic wand and wave that shit and get the bucket and the N1 or something, we've seen it. So it's not.
And to be perfectly honest with you, I thought he looked like he was trying to pass it off anyway there to Jesse.
He got clobbered in there. I mean, I don't know if there was a foul, but I didn't see Judah Mintz disappear.
Is that when you just dribble into 2 people, you can't always expect a foul.
No, you can't.
And that's the thing. Like if you're deemed out of control, which it's easy, I think, for him to sometimes look.
Yes, he looks out of control quite a bit.
Then it's hard sometimes, especially when the hands go straight up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go in with your arms and your elbow or whatever hit the other guy's arms that are straight up and you lose the ball, that's not a foul. So, I mean, there was more blatant fouls, I think, that the refs missed. And I think that the refs were part of this because there was just so many just physical plays that were not called. And then I saw some ticky-tack stuff. Justin Taylor got called for some ticky-tacks. I mean, it was a little bit of inconsistency. But realistically, where we lost this game was, ironically, turnovers, they had 2 more turnovers. But I think it was the rebounds. They beat us by rebounds, and they scored at least 16 points, like what Coach said, off of second chance points. And we didn't get a lot of second chance points. And they got 25 out of 28 from the free throw line. 11 more, and they scored 11 more points than us. So, realistically, that's the game. And that's just timely fouls. That's fouling Isaiah Wong on a 3-point shot. And it just seemed like, our fouls weren't the and ones or the shooting motions or anything like that. A lot of them. But a lot of theirs were. A lot of theirs were going up and going to the basket and all that kind of stuff like that. So, realistically to me, that's really what it was. What did they say? Omie? Is that what they say it now? Omie is how you... Right. Either way, that guy's solid. That guy's legit. 16-16. To be the size that he is, you saw Jesse try to back him down, and he just stopped him in his tracks. And he was really good with his feet around the basket. He was a left-hander, and there were some of those plays around the basket where I was like, Jesse's got to block one of these times.
Just never
and he didn't get one. He didn't get one. So kudos to him. He is legit. Didn't know that he was the Sun Belt Player of the Year, transferring out of Arkansas State from last year. So he's a legit big man. Even though he's a little undersized, he carves out a space out there quite nicely. And with all that beef that he's got, it wasn't that difficult with Jesse. Now, some of the higher rebounds and stuff like that, it was easier for Jesse. But yeah, that guy right there, man, him and Pack. I mean, we held Wong really, really good. I mean, Isaiah Wong's their guy.
He is their guy, but I just don't know if he's the star of that team right now.
Well, but we talked about the zone possibly giving this team, some hiccups and everything. And it just seemed to me like the guys that had hiccups were guys that had seen it before. And all of a sudden, then Pack comes in and shoots 15, 5 and 9 from 3. And Omie has the game that he has, and it's the first time they saw the zone. So it surprised me a little bit that those two were the guys, to be perfectly honest with you. And honestly, I'm going to give kudos to Beverly. Harlan Beverly off the bench. He didn't get a lot of minutes normally, but he came in because Joe Girard was kind of taking advantage of, the size of their guards and stuff like that. And he came in and he played a hell of a game. So kudos to them to get back in it, but I think they had a little bit of help. And, it's just, again, one of those things. This is the reason why Jim Boeheim harps on rebounds every single post-game press conference.
Yeah, -4 ended up being -4 for Syracuse on the rebounds. At No Blanchard 44, refs had Miami money line. That being said, at least Miami is good in one sport because their football team is atrocious. Wow.
Wow, that's shot. Shot.
Our buddy at David Super. Someone in the green room had 83-79, however, would have missed opportunity. Not having this win will sting come March, but plenty of chances left for quality wins. Going to be a long week, but need to forget about it come Saturday at Georgia Tech. And like I said, a chance to rebound back in that game. And I do think this could sting if they don't get a quad 1 win. And I had North Carolina at the Dome as my big win of the year, and so we'll see. And I'm not real impressed with a couple of those other teams, and we'll see how Syracuse matches up against them. I'm not sure that they don't match up better than I thought, maybe against a Duke, too. So, but we'll see. Let's see what else we got here on Twitter. Time will tell. Yes, it's tough.
I mean, dude, if there's one thing that I think that we've learned, right? So, I mean, you look at our last 3 losses out of the last, 12 games or whatever. It's Virginia, Pitt, and Miami. Those are 3 of the top teams in the ACC right now. And we were in every game. We might have been down a lot, but we showed a lot of resolve in coming back. We showed that we could play in these games. And to be perfectly honest with you, all it really did was give me confidence that, I mean, there's been years before where I thought we were good, but there was teams in the ACC where it was like, all right, well, that's high climbing to beat that team. You know what I mean? And I just don't think that there's a team like that in the ACC this year. So, I mean, if anything, these last 3 losses have given me is pretty much more confidence that, we're going to be in these games. I mean, we could have an off night and get crushed, right, like Illinois, but we have the talent to be in every single one of these games and win every single one of these games.
At Master Leo 123, Judah has been the best player on our team, but it was evident early that Samir was a better option today. I would have liked to see Judah sit most of the second half. Now, look, this is so easy to say, though, in hindsight, because you know what Judah can do. And it would be, okay, so let's say he just plays Samir most in the second half, and we lose anyway. What would you be saying then? I wonder, because I bet you the fan feedback would be reversed.
Why didn't
right?
you put Judah back?
Why is Samir out there? There's no way he should be out there. Judah, why is Judah on the bench?
Our best player is on the bench.
Yeah.
At the end of the game. What are you doing?
So I get it, but that is a hindsight, I think, opinion. But it has got to be tough.
The Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah, it's got to be tough though. But I mean, look, that's what fan feedback's about.
Right.
It's all Monday morning quarterbacking, right? So, and I love it because it sparks conversation. I just don't think that would be the best option. And you got to think too as a coach, and you know what you got. Coach knows what he's got, and you still, even when someone's having how many times has he stuck with Joe and Joe's having a bad day?
But that's the thing is that it's like there's a difference. There's a difference between knowing what you got and getting it. Right. And that's really the thing. I think that's been the conundrum of this whole season is that like he sees what he has on his team in practice, right? So he knows what he's got. But what is he going to get when it comes game time? And that's really been the whole question of this whole season. I mean, we have 9 deep in which we've seen the likes of Justin Taylor come in and go off, Chris Bell go off, Joe Girard win games by
Malik
himself.
Brown.
Right, exactly. Hema come in and play better than how Jesse was.
Hema's a block machine. I mean, this guy just is a block machine. He was in for 5 minutes.
Right. So
2 steals. He had 2 steals in 5 minutes.
It's not necessarily what you got. It's who's doing what when it comes game time and making the adjustments and putting in, the lineups that you think are going to work or that's going to work against the team you're playing against. And that's really what it is just that's what makes it so difficult. And I think I've alluded to this in past podcasts, but there's been so many years, especially with like scholarship sanctions and everything like that, where he's had like 7 and it's like, all right, we're going to get what we're going to get. But now it's like you have all these different pieces in from game in to game out.
So you think it's a good problem to have, but it's still a problem.
It's a good problem to have, but you got to make the right decisions in game.
It's a lot more. There's a lot more. There's a lot more chess involved when you have this much talent on one team, and that's the truth.
And options, but it's also inconsistency.
But
so what are they going to do? Because you've seen guys come in and not do anything, get pulled, put on the bench. All right, get a good talking to, come in, do great.
Great, yeah. Judah last game, or who was it last game? Not the Miami game, but the Notre Dame game. It was Judah.
Yeah.
It was. He got.
But you've also seen guys get pulled and they go back in and still do bad again, right? And it's just, I mean, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
So, and you have leaches and, you want to give guys time to, you don't want to just pull them just because they make a mistake. So there's just so many things going on,
It's more difficult to coach like that because you've got to know when to do what. And when you only got 7 guys and you're just throwing in someone when your center's in foul trouble or, someone needs a break for a minute, that's a much easier decision to make because you don't have anybody. But there's so many people. You
have so many options, right? I mean, we've seen so many different lineups and different things like that there's so many options. It's what do you do?
Yeah.
It's and I don't know. I don't want to say that it's caught up to him or anything. And obviously he's still got to learn because this is something new based upon previous seasons. So, I mean, you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, because you can't just guess on how a kid's going to play, obviously, because if everyone played like they did in practice, then he wouldn't have to worry about anything.
Exactly. At If Not Now When 84, we gave that away, but the refs helped. Horrible no calls would have been a nice win. On to the next. I expect more pessimism from Mike, but that's okay. I'll take it. I'll take it for once. Oh, Mike hates refs. That guy hates refs. Hates them. It's fine. It's fine. I hope he's listening too. Let's see. When do I move on to Facebook? That's the question. There was so much activity last night, and I have not looked at these, so I'm trying to scroll through. At JFleck24, Flask, at JFlask24. Don't want to talk about it. I hear you. At Chief Arquette, the refs were absolutely obnoxiously bad. The game ended on a technical foul that didn't get called. My faith in officiating staff this year is in the toilet. Okay, that's fair. At Hughes Waterboy, let that one slip out of our hands. Brutal. Yeah. Oh, our boy Cap. F these refs. Yeah, it was. And there's a fine line for me from being able to let these guys play and have fun, and to get these gritty games. Like, do you remember when we were kids and how college basketball and like even like the NBA? I have my jokes like, "What's the NBA?" But back in the day, I used to actually watch the NBA when it was good. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there was defense, and they used to play gritty like this, and. So I like seeing it. The old days of the Big East, all of that. It was like, you don't want the fouls too tight, but there's a fine line between controlling a game and being consistent in controlling a game. And it's just not there. And I don't know what kind of training these guys get, but I don't know what's what anymore sometimes. And that's the problem. So if you're watching the game, it's really easier in football than it is in basketball these days because you just don't know. The definitions aren't clear. The calls aren't consistent. And you feel like if you're going to let them play, you're either going to let them play, and then all of a sudden whistles tighten up. And it's like, well, damn it, man. I mean, I can't follow a game like that. You let them play, you get in a different flow. It's a lot of fast breaks, a lot of guys hitting the floor and good action. And I don't mind that if it's going to stay the same. And we've talked about this ad nauseum, but when you change the pace of a game and you change the way you call it and the players have to adjust, it's just not, it takes for the fan, it takes a lot of fun out of it. So if you're going to do it, just do it from the get-go. Okay. Then Jesse will get his 4 fouls by minute 16 in the first half, and we'll have to sit him until 8 minutes left in the second. Facebook, top fan Jesse. They hit tough shots. We didn't. Got to be quicker to pull Bell if he's not hitting. Is Copeland redshirting? Good question. Glad Jesse is looking back on track. Copeland in warm-ups last night, I saw, and I don't know. It's a good question. And Jesse's back on track for now. And that's another one of those things. But definitely a confidence booster for him, and that never hurts. In the tough shots by Pack, I mean, it seems to be what he does. If you looked at his stats coming into the game, he's pretty, not only can he hit him, but he's pretty calculated. He knows his shot. And he's not taking it. He was, I think if I remember right, like 47% coming. Was it that high?
I don't know, but he went 5 for 9. And majority of them were from the,
Let me check that real quick. Go ahead.
At the top of the key of the 3-point line.
Yeah, it was in the same spot.
Now, he did hit one in the corner, and that was after scrambles and good defense. And he hit one with like 2 or 3 seconds. But it was after an offensive rebound. I mean, just like I said, second chance points and how many free throws they got was really the game. That was the game.
Okay, he's 37%.
Yeah,
which
he's a good shooter. He's a good shooter. But I mean, nothing that they had wasn't anything that we couldn't handle last night. It's just, they're an older, more experienced team, a team that made the Elite Eight last year with, obviously some good transfers. So. I mean, and on top of that, they had guys come in that just did things for them, and that they just don't expect for them. Like Walker coming in and hitting all those little jumpers from the free throw line and getting some rebounds, and Beverly coming in and doing what he did. Like, that's not anything you can expect. It's not anything I don't think either of those two have done all season. And they come in and do it, and they pick up Wong and the bad game that he had, and the transfers come in, and you give up that many second chance points and free throws, and there goes your opportunity. The problem is that we're losing chances, we're losing opportunities. We don't have too many more to go, and seeing the opportunities that we wasted with the bad non-conference losses, it's all starting to add up to the point where we're getting close to back against the wall here.
Yeah, that's just it. It's one of those things where. If you could have one or two of those back, if you got one of those back, you're still kind of sitting pretty.
Give me the Bryant game.
Give me the Bryant game. I would love a redo on that. I really would. I hope. Look, everybody that listens for 5 minutes knows I can't stand that team. I can't stand that coach. All right, moving on. Top fan John on Facebook. Tough loss. Played well enough to win, but need to be smarter in crunch time. Jesse was the best player on the floor. Get him the ball. I can't much argue with that, man. They drew a play up for Joe. I just don't know. And couple that with this, and then I'm going to get your thoughts. Matthew on Facebook. Hero ball by Mintz. Seniors need to demand the ball in that situation. Poor leadership from the players. I just don't know. It's not one of those situations where it's clapping and yelling for the ball, and there just wasn't that much time left. And I think, if anything, I would refer back to John maybe, and maybe plan B could have been Jesse, because they knew the ball was going to Joe. They know in that situation they're going to try to get Joe the ball. And so it ended up being a situation where Judah was trying to do something he'd done a number of times. It didn't work. And it wasn't so much that play for me, because that play was late. I get it, and there was a lot of focus on that play. But it was the pass. It was the intercepted pass across court that killed me. That one of the last turnovers there, and in the turnover before that with Joe chasing that ball out, he didn't need to touch, and he did, and I don't know what he was thinking, but just unfortunate. So you could cling on to one thing, but I don't think it's any one thing, really.
No, it's not. It's like
not
one of those
play.
things where it was
Let's say
such
that.
a clean game, except for like a small little fraction where we had so many turnovers and gave up so many free throws that just blew that lead. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully it's a coaching experience and a player experience that, helps us later on in the season.
Tyler, I can't believe Mintz was even in the game the last 5 minutes. He played awful all night. Coach has no problem benching Benny, won't bench Judah. 3 points, 1 for 7. Awful. So, look, like I said, he's been the most consistent player on that team all year. There's no reason for me or anybody else to question Coach for keeping him in, because he's a playmaker.
Yeah.
He had one for a game that he stayed in the whole time, or was available the whole time, I should say. He had one bad game.
Yep.
I can't beat him up for that. I just can't.
Not gonna.
Here we go. Let's get this one last one in. It's our boy Nadal. Top fan, of course. This is 100,000% a tournament team in March, he says. Even though they are young and are prone to leaking threes, they are running a decent zone and have some scoring threats. We really need to win some of these games as soon as possible to get there. There are plenty of games left to make a case to the committee. Lastly, the ACC tournament is very winnable this year. So all good points. And way to keep the optimism, Nadal. And thank you for helping me out with the punctuation. We got periods, we got commas. He's got it all in there.
Damn.
Seriously.
There you go.
That's a strong game, Joe. And if there's no punctuation, what that does to me.
Oh, God.
If I have to figure it out live, guess what?
Now, I'm not going to lie. In Nadal, if you listen, I wouldn't mind if you didn't do punctuation. I mean, it would be great because it's very entertaining to me.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
But hey, no, I mean, just kudos to that, and I'm right there with him. I mean, we've seen. We talked about it. I fully believe that we'd be able to beat a St. John's, Bryant, Colgate today. We're not the same team we were last month, and we're not going to be the same team we are today in a month from now. And I do think that we have a pretty good chance at the ACC tournament if we do make the same kind of jump, right? Especially considering we just talked about how there's really not that, whoa, I don't want to play that team. If there is one, maybe Virginia, just because they're kind of like our kryptonite.
They have a
good,
kryptonite.
right?
Yeah.
As long as Kiki Clark's there, they've been pretty much our kryptonite. So, I mean, you throw them out the window, and I'm not afraid of any other team really right now.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, and just, I mean, it all depends on a resume, though.
Yeah.
That's the one big problem. I mean, I hope that we finish off, because I know that the NCAA, they look at teams and how they finish and how healthy they are and last 10 games and all that stuff. But we still need to have the resume. And that's what I'm worried about.
And we were just tied for second place. And, I'm not expecting to stay in second place for, the season and end there.
Yeah, no, I don't expect to be in the 2 seed in the ACC. No.
But this game would have helped that. It would have knocked Miami down. And you want to talk about seeding come ACC tournament. We have never been a high seed. And I understand that. What have we won? One ACC tournament? Two ACC tournament games?
What's better, though? What's better in our situation? Do we really want to have a bad non-conference and then finish fourth, get a double bye, and not have a chance to get a couple guaranteed wins or even easy wins to
not
pump
just
up
that
this resume a little bit?
Not just that, but if you finish there anyway, you're pumping up the resume. I mean, if that's where you finish, then you're good enough to have a high seed like that. Chances are your resume looks a whole lot better. Well, if you lose the first game, that's a problem. But if you get
double bye, your first game's against the top 8 seed, basically. I mean,
okay.
I'm just saying.
I would say if you're there, your resume is looking pretty solid. If that's where you are. It's got to be looking pretty good, especially out of the ACC. And people could say, "Oh, the ACC's having a down year."
Well, by the time it's said,
what is a down year for the ACC?
We still have 12 games. We're not even halfway through ACC.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, look, what's a down year for the ACC? The ACC's beating up on one another. That's a down year. Like, I mean, it's a terrible way to judge it.
Far and away top 10 team that's not, but there's national championship contender right now.
There's a lot of teams that are really freaking good.
You're absolutely right about that.
So, let's do. I know I said I was going to do one more, but I'm going to do one more. Our boy Zach on Facebook. Three things Judah needs to work on. Number 1, how to close out a game. Number 2, free throws. And number 3, a jumper. All in all, I can't be mad. Just demoralized from this loss. Although, also, how about those flops from Miami? Some garbage calls. I had to add one more officiating comment in there. So, anyway, yeah, I can't be mad, although I was. But when you sleep on it and you wake up, it hurts again. But when you think about it and you really put into perspective what happened, there's other opportunities like it. Thankfully, that wasn't Notre Dame. You know?
Yeah.
So
that's the one thing. I mean, that's really the only thing you can really, be okay about is the fact that that loss isn't going to hurt you whatsoever. To be perfectly honest with you, that loss helped us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gained spots in the net ranking.
At least we played them.
I mean, it still helped us. A win would have helped us more, right?
Right.
But a loss, even where we are right now, and that's that's actually telling as to where our resume is, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. Because you talk about a loss to a team like that, I mean, helped. A loss helped. That's where we are right now.
Yeah, it's not a good place to be.
Mm-mm.
It's not a good place to be.
Nope.
All right. Look, let's do a little preview for Georgia Tech. The all-time series between Syracuse and Georgia Tech sits at 8-7 in favor of the Orange. Georgia Tech taking last year's game 74-73 in overtime. Gerard, Buddy, Anselm, Swider, and Jimmy, your starting 5. Jimmy with 20 points, 10 rebounds. Swider with 12 rebounds, and Anselm with 10 rebounds. And they still lost. Georgia Tech is currently 8-9, 1-6 in the ACC. They have they've lost 3 in a row. They are playing NC State right now. I think, yes, the just to give you a timestamp here, it's halftime, 42-37, NC State. Georgia Tech led pretty much the whole first half, and NC State takes the lead late in the first. So we'll see how that goes. Their last 3 losses, as I mentioned, Florida State, Notre Dame, and Pittsburgh. Their one ACC win, ironically, was their last win. It was against Miami at home, 76-70. And going into NC State tonight, Georgia Tech's net ranking was 155th. That makes this a quad 3 game on the road for Syracuse. It will likely remain a quad 3 game regardless of the outcome of this game, but because it's just that's the bottom portion of the quad 3 road game. So anyway, plenty of room to wiggle there. It's not going to change. All right, so a guard heavy team, Joe. I got to be honest, haven't watched a ton of Georgia Tech this year. They did have the one really good win against Miami. But, they've got a couple, Jay Franklin, he's a 2-time transfer, right? Forward. And you've got a couple of familiar names. Miles Kelly, he's leading the team in points with 14 a game. 6'6", 175-pound sophomore guard in his second year. So they got some talent on this team. It just, I don't know what they're trying to figure out. Just judging by their record, and I'll be honest with you, looking at their schedule, it hasn't been, other than the ACC games, I mean, I don't know. A loss to Utah, a loss to Marquette. I mean, they didn't play anybody.
No, not really. I mean, they beat Georgia.
They did
right?
beat Georgia,
Miami.
yeah.
No, they've really only lost at home to good ACC teams. So, there's that as well. But it looks like they run a whole bunch of guys at you. They go 8-9 deep.
Yeah.
And, they got Jalen Moore and Javon Franklin, some forwards. They add some height. And obviously Rodney Howard, he's a big guy, but he's only averaging 19 minutes a game. So, yeah, like you said, it's a guard-heavy team. And, it's really probably going to come down to how our guards handle their guards. And what really comes with that, they got Lance Terry, a guard that was a 2-year double-digit scorer from Gardner-Webb, who's coming over as a senior. So, a lot of these guys have been at Georgia Tech. They really only have one transfer that's there really making a difference as far as 1 year goes, as far as graduate transfer. So, they've taken the route of, developing their recruiting classes and their younger players versus, going after multiple graduate, seniors and transfers and stuff like that. So they're still trying to figure it out, but still, this is not a team that you can sleep on,
that's
obviously.
Yeah.
And, that's really just the main thing is you can't fall asleep. It's a road game. It's going to be tough anyway. Seems like they're pretty good on the road this year. And we're going to have to show up with our A game, and Judah can't play the way that he did. Bottom line.
Yeah, it's one of those teams that, sitting at 8-9, 1-6, it's just kind of hard to gauge exactly where they are with a win over Miami and a loss to Florida State.
This is at this point, like we talked about it, like where our backs are against the wall. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So,
and they're not hot in KenPom either. Obviously, they're 140th there.
No green room.
With I had the green room set up. I forgot to start it. It's a little bit late now. Sorry, green room. Joe loves the green room. I had it set up and you took forever during the break.
No.
What do you want me to do? I forgot all about it.
Blame it on me.
I got the 8-year-old coming in here. He's waiting to play drums. He can't play drums while I'm doing this. Okay. I'm sorry to all our green room fanboys. No fan girls in the green room. Ironically enough, understandable. 100%. 100% understandable. Next time, Sunday. Sunday's a good day for the green room because we'll have football on. You know what I mean? Giants moving on. Your Giants.
Yeah.
My Bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys look a little ugly against the third stringer, but And now we have the.
Go on.
Now we have the rematch of the game
Bengals?
that never was.
Yeah, the game that never was. And we'll see what happens. The Bengals didn't look exactly that potent either against a third-string quarterback. So there's that.
Second string.
Whatever. He might as well be a third.
And they should have.
Isn't he a third, though? Wasn't there someone that came in before him?
Last week, yeah. But Huntley's the backup. So
Okay, all right. Well, okay. All right. Fair enough. But still, not that potent. Because day, we're at home. So were the Bills, but still.
yeah,
They were at home. Hats off to Miami for playing that good in high 20s out there in Buffalo. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Hats off for Minnesota for
That's the one thing about
playing
ditching
as
your
good as they did at
team and yeah, par for the course. And all of a sudden, this has turned into a longer segment than the actual preview for the upcoming game. But the most Kirk Cousiny thing, throwing a 3-yard pass with a defender on the dude and fourth and whatever the hell it was for the game. Like, what the hell was that?
But he had a hell of a completion percentage.
Oh, congratulations. It's funny in that game because I know Minnesota fans, so I was like rooting back and forth, and I know Giants fans. I'm rooting back and forth. I'm like, well, hell, I don't care. You get to a certain point where you're like, whoever's down, you're rooting for. You know what I mean?
I usually get to a point where it's like, I don't care who wins, I just want to see a good game.
And that's what it came down to, except for that last play. It was the dumbest last play of any decent game I've seen this year, I think. Name another one.
I thought it was a great play call.
J.A. a little off his game. That's okay. He'll come back. He'll come back.
Oh, shit.
They're playing a neutral site, correct?
Who's that?
Bengals in
No.
Buffalo.
No, that's at Buffalo.
It is? Oh, okay.
Yep. No, if Buffalo and Kansas City both win and they make it to the AFC Championship, then that's going to be a neutral.
Gotcha. Kid's playing the drums anyway. What do you think about that?
I mean, he's bold. I appreciate it.
He's bold. He's
He's
bold.
getting to the point where he's starting to test some shit. I like it.
Getting to the point? Come on, you know that kid. That kid tests me all the time.
Oh, I know. I know.
So, all right.
Back to the game.
Joe, back to the game. Back to you, Joe.
I mean, look, back to the game is that they're 13th in the ACC. They're 8-9. And
This is, by the way, it's a game we should win. It's quad 3 game. You know, everyone. Look, I'm at the point right now in the season where we can't even lose quad 2 games.
We can't.
That's where I'm at.
We can't.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, realistically, what you really need to look for is to put yourself in position, go 5-3 the next 8 games. You know, be 10-6 overall in the ACC. You put yourself in a position where you have 17 wins with 4 games to go, and then you put it in your hands. But we need to win the games that we need to win, and this is definitely a game that we need to win. We can't lose this game.
Which was my point with saying Miami's not going to hurt us. It's just thank God it wasn't Notre Dame. Like we do. We have to win.
Oh yeah, this is a way. I mean, if we were to lose this game, this would be a way worse loss than any of the 3 losses that we've had in the ACC.
You'll see this podcast turn into the Bills Militia podcast so quick if we lose this game.
No, we won't. But I mean, they have 3 losses, and Syracuse has 3 losses to the ACC opponents, and all 3 right now are projected to make the ACC tournament. So, we just got to keep it there. We got to keep it there.
Oh, they were all quad 1 losses, were they not? Yes.
I mean, I believe they were. I
think so.
Can't really tell you that for sure, but I mean,
it was at Pitt, was it not?
It was.
Yeah.
No,
it wasn't. No, it was not, because I would remember that because I hate their fans. You're right.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So we still have to go to Pitt.
And that's some of those random games that I'm worried about, right? Like we're going to go back to at Pitt, right? Or we have to go at Virginia Tech with probably a healthy Hunter Couture.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, those are the little games that, and on top of that, we still have another game against Virginia, and we still haven't played Duke or North Carolina and Clemson. So we got to throw that in there too. So, I mean, right there, those are 6 games that, I mean, big games. Still got 12 left. So, we got to win the other 6. And I know Wake Forest isn't too shabby either this year so far. So, and NC State, really.
Pitt is a quad 2 game right now. Just so you know.
So, I mean, we got 8 more games against, potential NCAA tournament teams, and out of the 12 games that we have left. So, I mean, there it is, right there on your table. We just can't let what happened yesterday happen too many more times. Damn sure not against Georgia Tech.
I know, and that's the ones that worry me. You go into a game against Miami, and you're like, okay, opportunity, right? And you're like, you're ready for it, and they play a little slow at first. You're not that worried about it because you see kind of how the game's going. They take total control of that game, and then they piss it away. And that's it hurts, but it doesn't hurt as bad as it could. But I digress. With that said, it's time for picks. By the way, I said 78-73. You said 82-75, which is really close, except for you had the scores backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways. All right, look, and by the way, I did preface my last game's pick with an absolute homer pick. And what I meant by that was that I wasn't sure they were going to win that game, but I thought they really did have a chance. So I'm not trying to cop out on it. I really did think they have the chance, but in my gut, I was like, I don't think they can do it, especially at Miami. But, man, it was close. So, all right, look, this is the game they got to have at Georgia Tech. And I don't know anything about the Yellowjacket fans, really. They don't impress me that much. Not too worried about that.
What?
Syracuse
You're not afraid to go to the Hive?
Syracuse has just got a ball out. I don't know what else to say. Kids are finally back, by the way. And so they might be a little hype or lit or whatever they call it. But Syracuse has got to have it, so I'm going to call it a win. And by the way, this team can, and I've been watching them. This is the most I've watched them all year. They can get inside. They don't have a huge problem. They're handling NC State pretty good. They handled them pretty decent the whole first half. So they gave them fits. And NC State's, I mean, they're pretty good. They got 4 losses. 3 of them are in the ACC. So there's that. But I'm going to say 76-75 win for Syracuse. And I don't know why I hover around those mid 70 to high 70 scores, but that's where I'm at. Lance, you're up.
Sir. So, looking at Ken Palm, we're at 86. Georgia Tech's at 140. 186 adjusted offense, 108 adjusted defense. So their defense is better than their offense. A little bit better ranked than Miami. So, I do worry a little bit about that. But, obviously every game is different and it comes down to individual matchups. I think that we have so many options that I don't know, if we can't find the
Jesse's going to be huge in this game.
Oh, Jesse is definitely going to be huge, but they got a big guy too. Right. They got a big guy too that's doing well tonight, and he's got some weight and some height and some stuff like that. So, we need to make sure that Jesse obviously stays out of foul trouble. That's a big, big thing. But I think that we'll be able to score on them kind of like Miami a little bit, maybe not as much, but their offense really is not great, and they hug up a bunch of threes. And that's really what I've kind of seen is if they're not getting it down low to the big guy, then they're hucking threes.
The big guy gets 10%.
Well, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to me to whether or not, Georgia Tech can stay disciplined enough to, not fall in love with the three. If they come out and they hit, then that's going to be an even bigger problem. But obviously, there's the every game things, right? Jesse, rebounding, turnovers, that kind of stuff. But obviously the 3-point shot is going to be a big deal in this game. And they're probably going to hit a couple ridiculous ones and make their offense look a little bit better than what they did. But I'm still going to go Syracuse, but I'm going to go a little bit lower than you. I'm going to go 70-66 Syracuse.
Okay. All right. At some point, I might have to start getting realistic here. By the way, our next game is at home versus Carolina, and I have to pick the win there because that was my early season upset pick. And we'll see what happens. And by the way, I was wrong. Armando Bacot is not hurt.
No, he had a double-double in the first half.
Yeah, I messed
tonight
up there.
Against Boston
College. Must have been the game before, so my bad. Anyway.
No, yeah, it was the game before. He got hurt, but he came back, so.
And he came back with a sprain. He came back, and just like last year. He's just playing injured. He's like the Ben Roethlisberger of the NCAA. Okay, whatever.
Meanwhile, Florida State is beating Notre Dame by 15.
And by the way, we don't want that. Fun. We don't want that at all. And Boston College was hanging tough with North Carolina.
No, we don't want that at all. The problem is that we're playing Florida State so damn late this year. That's the problem.
I don't care about Florida State.
You can say that right now. You can say that. By the time we get fine. But Florida State has been a good team over and over again in the ACC, and it's just taking them a little bit longer to get it going. And
they're up by 17. They're up by 17. So
I know. And this is going to put them 4-4 in the ACC.
Notre Dame sucks, dude. They suck. F Notre Dame.
Nah, we barely beat them.
But they suck. Okay, fine. They suck worse than us. They suck. Okay? I don't know what to tell you. They're 1-6 in the ACC. 2 of those losses came from us. They suck. They suck.
But we didn't beat them by fucking 17.
I understand that. I mean, I don't know, matchup. That's a matchup
All I'm
thing.
saying is that Florida State looks a lot better now, even though they're 5-13 than they did 3 weeks ago.
5-13, 3 wins are in the ACC. That's crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but
Knowing our luck,
by the
get it
time
all together and kick our ass.
well, they probably will. And you know who else probably definitely will is, NC State and Duke.
Duke. Yeah, exactly.
And Clemson.
I mean, we're not so far away from, Clemson's undefeated in the ACC.
I know,
but
well, I'm just saying.
I mean, we're not that far away from saying we're going to need to win the ACC tournament to get in. To get in.
No, we're a loss against Georgia Tech away from it. Possibly, maybe, probably not. Probably not.
It's
but,
all in there. I mean, you could win every game after that. I mean, as long as there's a feasible possibility, then.
At what point do we just stop doing the podcast? That's my biggest question.
I mean, I have no
limit.
I have no plans of not doing this podcast. So, I mean, are you trying to use this as a way out? Are you trying to use this as a way out? Just cancel it. It's over. It's done.
We've been through worse. I would never quit during the season. That's not my style. I finish all my projects. I don't leave projects undone, which is why I reached out to Giovanni and said, "Hey, look, man, I can't do this by myself, brother. Bail me out." And he was like, "Absolutely, I got you." So I had other options too. I had another guy, a couple guys in mind actually, and I just figured Gio would be good because it was after Virginia Tech. It was my first choice, and boom, come through clutch, my guy. Gio. So, anyways, yeah. Look, we haven't missed a game. And we is the show. So, whether or not you were here or not, we haven't missed a game. I haven't missed a game
The first time.
It was the first time we missed a regular season that you weren't here for a regular season game in 6 years. Over 6 years. So,
yep.
Things happen. All right. I think that is going to do it for us. That's the end music. End of the show. You're welcome.
Good job, bud.
You're welcome. We're ending the show.
Fat finger that one.
I appreciate all of you for hanging out with us. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you on Sunday, hopefully after a win against Georgia Tech. For Jerome Sean, we're out.
Peace.
You didn't do it right. You didn't do it right. Redo it.
Really?